The alien princess pointed to the youngest human warrior and announced, "He will be mine." Best HFY Stories Jace Holiday had always thought of himself as a man of the desert, rough, self-reliant, and a little reckless, but nothing in his years of wandering the barren planets of the outer colonies had prepared him for what he found that day. His hoverbike sputtered to a halt in a vast stretch of crimson sand that seemed to stretch endlessly, its surface glimmering faintly under the twin suns. The crash had been unexpected. The old engines of the bike groaned and hissed as he forced them to power down. Dust clung to his boots and jacket, and a sense of unease settled deep in his chest. He scanned the horizon. In the distance, half buried in dunes, was a structure unlike any human settlement he had ever seen. It shimmered faintly, its metal and crystal surfaces reflecting the twin suns in a dazzling, almost hypnotic display. There was something alien about it. Something alive. Something dangerous. But curiosity, as always, overpowered caution. Jace approached the structure, his boots sinking slightly into the soft sand with each step. As he drew closer, he saw signs of struggle, scattered equipment, scorch marks, and footprints that didn't match any human or known alien species. A sense of urgency gripped him. Whoever, or whatever, had been here, they were hurt. Through a broken side door, he saw her. She lay on a platform that seemed to float slightly above the ground, her form slender yet powerful, covered in silvery armor that reflected the sunlight. Her skin, visible where the armor had been damaged, had a subtle, iridescent sheen. Jace froze, breath caught in his throat. She was unlike anything he had seen. A humanoid shape, but distinctly alien. Long, elegant limbs, eyes that shimmered with intelligence and authority, and hair that seemed to float, even in the still air. And she was hurt. A deep gash ran across her shoulder, blood pooling and glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. She was breathing heavily, each inhale sharp and painful. Jace didn't hesitate. He had patched up more humans and colonists in his life than he could count. This was different, yes, but the instinct was the same. He grabbed a first aid kit from his bike, ignoring the warnings that screamed in his head. The alien queen's eyes snapped open as he knelt beside her. They were the color of liquid silver, intelligent and piercing. Jace met her gaze, holding his hand steady despite the rapid beating of his heart. "Easy," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to help." Her lips curved faintly, a gesture that could have been amusement or warning. "Human," she whispered, her voice musical and strange, yet clearly understandable. "Why? Are you here?" "Survivor," Jace said simply. "Like you, I guess. Now hold still while I tend this wound." He worked quickly, cleaning the gash with antiseptic, careful not to touch more than necessary. The queen stiffened almost immediately. Her sharp intake of breath told him something was wrong. She hissed softly, a sound somewhere between warning and discomfort. "Only my consort may touch me there," she whispered, her voice low and urgent. Jace froze. The words didn't make sense. He didn't even know what a consort was in this alien context, yet the warning in her voice was unmistakable. He nodded slowly, still keeping his hands steady. "All right," he said carefully. "I'll be careful. I just want to stop the bleeding." For a moment, her body relaxed slightly, enough for him to continue his work. He applied a special gel from the kit, watching as it interacted with her glowing blood, forming a protective seal over the wound. It was unlike any medicine he had ever used. It pulsed faintly, as if alive, and he could feel a strange warmth emanating from it. The queen's eyes softened slightly, a gesture of trust or acceptance. Jace didn't question it. He had learned long ago that surviving sometimes meant acting first, asking questions later. "You are brave, human," she murmured, her voice almost a whisper. "Or foolish." "Maybe a little of both," he said with a small smile. "But right now we both need each other." She didn't respond immediately, only studying him intently. Jace felt the weight of her gaze like gravity, a silent assessment of his worthiness or danger. There was a moment of strange silence, broken only by the faint hum of the alien outpost's machinery. "Why, help me?" she asked finally, her voice weaker now but still carrying authority. "Humans, they are weak, fragile." Temporary. Maybe," Jace said, shrugging. "But I've learned that even the fragile can survive if they're stubborn enough. And sometimes they can make a difference." Her lips curved faintly again, almost a smile, and for a brief instant she looked like a queen unmasked, regal and untouchable, yet dependent on him. It was a strange, unsettling feeling, and he couldn't deny it. There was more to her than he could see. Her world, her people, her life, it all felt vast and dangerous, and somehow He had been pulled into it. Jace finished bandaging the wound, carefully applying a final layer of the alien healing gel. It glowed softly, sending pulses of warmth into her skin. She closed her eyes, letting him finish, but even then, her body remained tense, ready to react at any moment. "Better?" he asked gently, brushing sand from his jacket. She opened her eyes, looking at him with a mixture of curiosity and something deeper, something that felt almost like recognition. "Better for now," she said. "But danger is not far. You should not be here, human. This place, it is not for you." "I might be reckless," he admitted, "but I'm also stubborn, and I've got nowhere else to go." She studied him for a long moment, her eyes narrowing. Finally she spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Then you will stay, and perhaps you will learn what it means to survive here." Jace nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He didn't fully understand them, but he knew they carried truth. Whatever had happened here, whatever danger lingered in the shadows of this alien outpost, he had already become a part of it. As the twin suns dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the red sand, Jace settled beside the queen, keeping watch. The desert was silent, but it was a tense silence, one that promised that the night would bring challenges neither of them could ignore. Somewhere in the distance, he thought he heard movement, soft, deliberate, almost alive. He tightened his grip on his weapon, but didn't make a sound. The queen remained still beside him, her breathing steady now, her eyes closed. But even in rest, she seemed alert, as if listening to the desert itself. Jace realized that he was not just a survivor here, he was a witness. And, perhaps in ways he didn't yet understand, he was already part of something much larger than himself, something that could change the fate of this strange alien world. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a flicker of anticipation. Survival had always been his job, but now survival had become a test, a challenge, and perhaps even an adventure. For the first time in a long while, Jace Holiday didn't feel alone, and he knew, deep down, that the night was only the beginning. The night in the desert stretched endlessly, cold and silent, with the twin moons casting faint silver light over the sand. Jace Holiday kept watch beside the wounded queen, Lysara, who lay on her floating platform, still recovering but alert.
He had never felt so out of place.
Every instinct in his human body told him to leave, to return to the familiar, to survive alone. But something about Lysara, her strength, her presence, the fragile yet commanding way she had entrusted him with her life, kept him rooted. By the dim light of the outpost, Jace noticed intricate patterns carved into the walls. They glowed faintly when he approached, symbols that seemed almost alive. He reached out, tracing one with a finger. It pulsed softly at his touch. A memory flickered in his mind. Not his own, but somehow he understood it. This place was not just a shelter. It was a palace, a seat of power for a civilization far beyond human understanding. Lysara's eyes opened slowly. She had watched him exploring, studying the alien carvings. "You are curious," she said softly, her voice carrying the same musical tone tinged with amusement. "I'm a cowboy," Jace replied. "Curiosity comes with the job." And yet, survival is not a game. Here, curiosity can be fatal. Jace studied her. "Then you should tell me what I need to survive." She hesitated. Finally, she spoke. "This world, my world, is on the edge. My people, the council, they are divided. There are those who would see me dead, human. Those who see anyone from your kind as weak, as expendable. You should leave." "I can't," Jace said firmly. "Not while you're here and wounded. Besides, leaving is boring." Her lips curved faintly. "You are stubborn. Perhaps too stubborn. But I see now that stubbornness may serve a purpose." The alien queen paused, considering him. Then she gestured toward a small chamber nearby. "You must understand my court. You must know the dangers if you are to remain." Reluctantly, Jace followed her. The room beyond was filled with holographic displays floating mid-air, showing images of ships, star systems, and alien figures. He realized these were not just decorative. They were strategic, a map of influence, of power. "Every leader has threats," Lysara explained. "But mine are more dangerous because they come from within." She tapped a floating image of a pale-skinned alien with sharp features. "This is Kale, trusted advisor, or perhaps not. Some claim he would take my throne if he could." Jace nodded slowly. "Sounds like a regular court, just with lasers and floating maps." Lysara's smile was faint. "Do not underestimate them. They are cunning, patient, and ruthless. Every move here, every decision, could mean life or death. As they spoke, a faint alarm echoed through the outpost. Lysara's eyes sharpened immediately.
They are moving, she whispered. They sense my weakness.
The wound, it marks me as vulnerable. Who are they? Jace asked, hand instinctively reaching for the blaster at his hip. Faction leaders, she said, and mercenaries loyal to none but power. They do not care for life, mine, yours, or any of mine. Before Jace could respond, the room shook. Dust fell from the ceilings. Outside, he could hear the hum of engines approaching. Small but fast ships skimmed the dunes, their lights cutting through the darkness like knives. They are here, Lysara said calmly, though her grip on the edge of the platform tightened. And they will not stop until I am either dead or in their control. Jace felt a chill. He was used to ambushes, desert bandits, and rogue outlaws, but this was different. Alien weapons, advanced ships, unknown numbers. He glanced at Lysara. Despite her injury, she stood poised, regal, unshaken. Why me? He asked quietly. Why trust a human? Her eyes softened, if only for a moment. Because, she said, you are not like the others. You are capable, and you have survived long enough to understand what must be done. My wound, it is more than physical. It is symbolic. Healing it requires trust and perhaps something more. Jace frowned. He wasn't sure what she meant. Something more? She shook her head. Not yet. You need to survive the night first. Suddenly, the first enemy scouts arrived. They were humanoid, armored in dark metallic suits, moving silently across the sands with precision. Jace felt a surge of adrenaline. The outpost's walls offered some protection, but if they breached it, they would be exposed. Stay behind me, Lysara ordered. They will not expect human interference, and that is your advantage. Jace did as she said, crouching low as the scouts approached. Despite his fear, he marveled at her command. She didn't panic. She calculated, strategized, and directed with quiet authority. Flank left, she whispered, pointing to a passageway. They underestimate speed and cunning. Jace moved, heart racing. Using his cowboy instincts, he set traps with whatever alien tech he could manage. Simple wires, light disruptors, and his own blaster, all combined to create confusion among the enemy. The first skirmish was swift. Jace fired, disabling one of the scouts, while Lysara used her alien agility to disable another with a precise strike. Despite her injury, she moved like liquid silver, fast and deadly. Jace realized something important. The queen was not helpless. Her wound slowed her, but it had not diminished her skill, her power, or her authority. And in that moment he understood why the council feared her, and why the factions wanted her gone. After the brief skirmish, they retreated into the inner chambers. Lysara monitored the holographic displays. They will regroup, she said, and they will send more. We must be prepared. You will need to learn quickly, human. I can handle it, Jace said, but you shouldn't fight like this with your wound. Her eyes met his. Do you think I would allow weakness to define me? Or allow anyone, even my consort, to fail to act when action is required? Jace nodded, understanding. The term consort still confused him, but its meaning was clear. They were connected, whether he wanted it or not. His role here was more than survival. It was trust, strategy, and perhaps loyalty beyond human measure. As the night wore on, Lysara shared more of her world. The factions within the council were not only political, but also deeply entwined with technology and biology. Some had enhanced bodies, others had weaponized mind tech that could influence thoughts and perceptions. Jace listened carefully, trying to absorb it all. Survival now required not just courage, but knowledge. By dawn, the twin moons receded, and the twin suns rose, casting the red desert in a harsh, golden light. The enemy had withdrawn for now, leaving only tracks in the sand. But Lysara knew this was only temporary. They will return, she said, and next time they will bring more. Jace cleaned his blaster, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on him. Then we'll be ready. She studied him for a long moment. Perhaps, she said quietly, you are more than stubborn. Perhaps you are necessary. The word settled between them. Jace didn't fully understand its meaning, but he felt its weight. He had survived desert storms, alien creatures, and rogue outlaws, but this was something else. He had stepped into a world of politics, power, and danger far beyond his imagining. And somehow, he realized, Leaving was no longer an option. Somewhere deep within the palace, shadows moved. Figures watched from the darkness, silent and calculating. The council was plotting, the factions were scheming, and the humans, the cowboys, the wanderers, they were nothing more than pawns in a game that had already begun. But Jace Holiday was not just any human. And Lysera, the wounded queen, with silver eyes and a commanding presence, was not just any ruler. Together they would face the threats of the night, the cunning of the court, and the perils of a world that demanded loyalty, courage, and cunning beyond imagination. The rising sun painted the desert in hues of fire and blood. The battle for trust, survival, and power had only just begun. And for the first time, Jace realized that the alien queen he tended to, the one who had whispered about consorts and secrets, had made him part of her story, whether he was ready or not. The twin suns had climbed high over the desert, casting harsh golden light on the red dunes that stretched endlessly beyond the alien palace. Jace Holiday stood beside Lysera, the wounded queen, on the observation balcony of the floating outpost. From here he could see the approaching enemy forces, dozens of armored alien soldiers moving with precision, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. The scouts from the night before had returned, this time with reinforcements, and it was clear they intended to overwhelm the palace. Lysera's silver eyes scanned the battlefield with calm authority. Despite her injury, she moved with a grace that made her seem untouchable, a predator at the center of her domain. Her hand hovered over a console, issuing commands to defensive turrets and energy barriers. Jace, gripping his blaster, felt both awe and fear. He had survived desert storms, bandits, and rogue mercenaries, but this was another level entirely. "They think my wound makes me weak," Lysera said quietly, her voice carrying over the hum of the palace machinery. "They underestimate me." "And they underestimate you, human. I've got your back," Jace said, checking his weapon. "But we need a plan. Guns alone won't stop them." She studied him for a moment. "No, they won't. But courage, cunning, and timing, those can. And you, stubborn human, have shown enough of all three to be trusted." Jace nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The queen had trusted him with her life before. Now she was relying on him to help defend her people and her throne. The first wave of attackers reached the palace gates. They moved with deadly precision, using advanced alien tech to bypass some of the outer defenses. Jace fired from his position, picking off targets when he could, while Lysera coordinated the palace's defense systems. Her commands were precise, her decisions flawless. Despite her injury, she was the center of power, radiating confidence and control. But the battle was only beginning. Suddenly, a warning blared from the palace's sensors. Kael, the queen's supposed advisor, the one Lysera had warned about, had arrived with his own squad of elite soldiers. He moved with a predatory calm, exploiting weaknesses in the palace defenses that only someone with insider knowledge could know. "Kael," Lysera hissed, anger flashing across her features. "He has betrayed me." Jace felt a chill. Betrayal was worse than any attack. He had faced enemies in open combat before, but treachery from within, that was dangerous, unpredictable, and deadly. Kael's voice echoed through the palace, amplified by the alien comm system. "Queen Lysera," he said smoothly. "Your reign ends today. Surrender peacefully, and your people may live. Resist, and all will perish." Lysera's eyes narrowed. "You were meant to serve, not destroy. You will regret this, Kael." The battle escalated. Kael's forces breached the outer courtyard, clashing with the palace defenders. Jace ran through the chaos, firing at attackers and using his cowboy instincts to anticipate their movements. Despite his human limitations, his experience with ambushes and desert survival gave him an edge. He spotted Lysera moving through the battlefield with remarkable agility, her silver armor glinting, her energy blade cutting through attackers with precision. Her presence inspired the defenders, giving them hope and courage. But the wound on her shoulder slowed her, and Jace realized she could not hold the front alone for long. He moved closer, providing cover and drawing enemy fire. "I've got you!" he shouted over the din, firing at a group of soldiers about to flank her. Lysera gave him a faint nod of acknowledgement. "Quick thinking," she said, "but the real danger is still ahead." Jace followed her lead, moving through corridors and courtyards as the palace became a battlefield. They fought side by side, human and alien queen, a combination of brute force, strategy, and cunning. Jace marveled at her strength, her intelligence, and the way she commanded respect without raising her voice. Then, the betrayal struck fully. A trusted palace officer, someone Jace and Lysera had believed loyal, appeared at a critical junction and fired on their defenders, opening a path for Kael's forces. panic rippled through the palace as attackers poured in through the breach. Jace cursed under his breath. "I should have expected it," he muttered. "But we can't let this stop us." Lysara's face hardened. "No," she said. "We fight." "For the palace, for my people, and for survival." They regrouped in the inner sanctum, a large chamber with energy shields and control consoles. Lysara's wound throbbed, but she ignored the pain, issuing commands with precision. Jace noticed a device glowing softly on her belt, a strange alien instrument that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "What's that?" he asked, curiosity overcoming the chaos. "A stabilizer," she said. "It regulates my energy. Without it, my abilities are limited, and I cannot heal quickly. With it, I can fight longer, think faster, and protect those who depend on me." Jace nodded. "Then we make sure it stays online." As the battle raged outside, Lysara and Jace worked together, setting traps, redirecting attackers, and fortifying the inner sanctum. The palace's defenses were advanced, but Kale's knowledge of the system gave him an edge. He anticipated moves, bypassed barriers, and struck with deadly accuracy. At one point, Jace was forced to leap from a balcony to intercept a squad of elite soldiers heading straight for the queen. Using his blaster and quick thinking, he managed to disable them, but the effort left him winded and covered in dust and sweat. He looked up to see Lysara had taken down another group single-handedly, her silver eyes glowing with determination. The intensity of the battle was unlike anything Jace had ever experienced. Every moment was a test of skill, courage, and trust. He realized that he was not just fighting to survive. He was fighting to protect someone who had trusted him completely, someone whose life depended on his actions. Then Kale appeared in the chamber doorway, his presence commanding and dangerous. He was armed with a plasma blade, and his eyes glinted with malice. "Human," he sneered, "you are far from your world. But bravery alone will not save you." Jace squared his shoulders. "Maybe not," he said, "but it's a start." Kale lunged. Jace dodged, rolling to the side and firing his blaster. The shots barely slowed Kale, who advanced with terrifying speed. Lysara joined the fray, her energy blade meeting Kale's plasma weapon in a clash of sparks and light. The sound echoed through the chamber, a metallic symphony of battle. Jace fought alongside her, covering her back, intercepting attackers, and keeping the pressure on Kale's forces. Together, human and queen, they were an unstoppable team, but Kale was cunning. He feinted, retreated, and attacked from angles no one expected, testing their limits. Finally, in a critical moment, Kale's blade struck near Lysara's wound. Pain flared across her shoulder, and she staggered. Jace moved instinctively, throwing himself in front of her, taking the strike on his arm. The pain was sharp, burning, but adrenaline pushed him onward. "You cannot win," Kale hissed, advancing with deadly precision. "We don't need to," Lysara said, her voice steady despite the pain. "We need to survive." With a coordinated strike, Lysara unleashed a pulse of energy from the stabilizer at her belt, sending a wave through the chamber. Kale was thrown back, his forces scattered, and for the first time a silence fell over the battlefield. Jace looked at her, awe and concern mingling in his eyes. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, breathing heavily. "For now. But the threat is far from over. Kale has allies we have not yet seen. And my people, they are vulnerable." The betrayal had shaken them, but it had also revealed something important. Trust, courage, and quick thinking could overcome even the deadliest of threats. Jace realized that survival in this world required more than skill with a blaster. It required loyalty, intuition, and an understanding of those around him. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the palace, Lysara and Jace regrouped. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Kale had retreated, but his intentions were clear. He would return, stronger, more determined, and with more treachery. "You are learning quickly, human," Lysara said, her silver eyes meeting his. "And perhaps you are becoming more than I expected." Jace chuckled softly. "I guess stubbornness has its uses after all." She allowed herself a faint smile. "Yes, but remember, trust must be earned. And there are those among my people and within my court who will test you, human. They will try to break your loyalty, your courage, even your mind." Jace nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had survived desert storms, outlaws, and rogue mercenaries, but nothing had prepared him for betrayal from someone he might have trusted. And yet, despite everything, he knew he would not leave. The palace, wounded but standing, shimmered in the fading light. The battle had revealed not just enemies, but strengths, alliances, and the beginning of a partnership forged in the crucible of danger. And somewhere in the quiet that followed the chaos, Jace understood one truth. The alien queen he had saved, the one who had whispered about consorts and secrets, had made him part of a world far larger, far more dangerous, and far more extraordinary than anything he had ever known. The next challenge would come. He didn't know when or how, but he knew this. He and Lasara would face it together. And together, they were unstoppable. The red desert stretched endlessly beneath the twin suns, blazing like molten metal. The palace, scarred from battle, shimmered faintly against the dunes, its alien architecture reflecting the light in fractured patterns. Jace Holiday stood beside Lasara, the alien queen, in the central chamber of the palace. Her wound had mostly healed thanks to the stabilizer at her belt and his own steady hands, but tension radiated from her in waves. The calm before the storm had arrived. "They will return," Lasara said quietly, her silver eyes scanning the horizon through the chamber's transparent walls. "And next time, they will bring everything they have. Kale will not stop until he controls this palace, until he controls me." Jace tightened his grip on his blaster. He had survived desert storms, alien ambushes, and betrayal from within, but this was the final confrontation. "Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance," he said. "Whatever it takes." Lasara nodded. "And you, stubborn human, will stand beside me, not just as a soldier, but as something more." Jace's chest tightened at her words. He still did not fully understand the title she had given him, consort, but he understood its weight. To her people it was a bond of trust, loyalty, and responsibility. And he would not betray it. The first signs of Kale's return came in the distance, a fleet of sleek, dark ships cutting through the sky like predatory birds. The desert shook beneath their landing engines. Lasara raised her hand, activating the palace's defense systems. Energy shields shimmered into place and turrets spun, glowing as they powered up. "Human," she said, "we fight not just for survival, but for the future of my people. Are you ready?" "Born ready," Jace replied, even as adrenaline surged through him. The battle began with a deafening roar. Kale's forces poured into the palace courtyard, their armor glinting under the sun. Jace and Lasara moved in tandem, a perfect combination of human ingenuity and alien power. He ducked behind walls, fired at advancing soldiers, and set up makeshift traps using alien tech. She moved like a phantom, cutting through enemies with her energy blade, dodging attacks with impossible agility. The chaos was mesmerizing. Jace realized that battle was more than survival. It was art, a deadly dance of strategy, speed, and precision. Then Kale himself appeared, stepping forward from the ranks with a calm, lethal grace. His eyes locked on Lysera, his voice amplified through the chamber. "Queen Lasara," he said, "your reign ends here. Surrender, and perhaps I will allow your people to live." "I will never surrender," Lasara replied, her voice like silver steel. "And you will find that loyalty and courage cannot be broken so easily." Kale lunged. Jace fired, but Kale moved with terrifying speed, deflecting the shots with a wrist-mounted energy shield. Lasara engaged him directly, her blade clashing against his plasma weapon, sending sparks and energy arcs into the air. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Jace ducked behind a pillar, firing again, taking down soldiers who tried to flank her. He could see the strain on Lasara's face as she fought. Her wound had mostly healed, but every movement caused her pain. He realized then that survival here required more than courage. It required trust, and she trusted him to protect her. A sudden burst of movement caught Jace's eye. Kale had used the distraction to advance toward the queen from behind. Without thinking, Jace dove, tackling Kale aside and taking a glancing strike from his plasma blade across his shoulder. Pain lanced through him, but he rolled, returning fire. "You cannot win, human," Kale shouted. "No," Jace admitted, gritting his teeth, "but we can survive." Lysara took advantage of the moment, channeling energy from the stabilizer at her belt into a concentrated pulse. The chamber shook as a wave of force knocked Kale's forces off balance. Soldiers were thrown aside, weapons sparking and failing. Kale was forced back, his eyes narrowing in fury. Jace rose, blood running down his arm, and looked at Lasara. "You okay?" he asked. "For now," she said, breathing heavily. "But the choice is yours." "The consort's choice." Jace frowned. "Consort's choice?" She stepped closer, her eyes serious. "The final move. Kale has a device capable of breaching the palace's core energy grid. If it activates, the palace will collapse. I cannot do this alone. Only one with trust, courage, and skill can disable it. You, human, must choose. You can stop it, or we both die. Jace felt the weight of her words. Every instinct in his body screamed caution, fear, and uncertainty. But the trust in her eyes, the faith she had placed in him, gave him clarity.
He nodded. Then I choose to survive with you.
The two of them raced to the palace core. Energy shields and traps slowed them, but Jace's instincts and Lysara's command of alien tech allowed them to bypass the obstacles. Kale pursued, relentless, his plasma blade leaving streaks of light in the air. At the core chamber, Jace saw the device, a pulsing sphere of energy, humming with dangerous power. He realized that one wrong move could destroy the palace and everyone inside. Lysara turned to him. You must stabilize it, she said. Channel your energy, human, and trust yourself. Channel my energy? Jace asked, bewildered. She took his hand, and a warmth spread through him as the stabilizer linked to his presence. It was strange, almost otherworldly, but he felt a focus he had never known. He reached toward the sphere, letting the energy flow through him. Kale lunged one final time, but Lysara intercepted him, their blades clashing in a blinding arc of light. Jace worked quickly, guiding the energy into the core device. Sparks flew, the chamber shook, and the sphere glowed brighter before stabilizing. Kale screamed in frustration, realizing his plan had failed. With a final strike from Lysara, he was disarmed and forced to retreat. The remaining enemy forces fled, leaderless and disorganized. The palace was safe. For now. Jace staggered back, breathing heavily, but alive. Lysara's eyes softened as she looked at him. You did it, she said. You saved me and my people. I couldn't have done it without you, he admitted. You fought like a queen. Her lips curved into a faint smile. And you fought like a consort. The words sank in, and Jace realized the depth of their bond. It was more than survival, more than trust. It was partnership, loyalty, and respect forged in fire. As the sun set over the red desert, painting the palace in shades of gold and crimson, Lysara and Jace stood side by side. The battle had been won, the threat defeated, but the world remained dangerous. Kale would return, other factions would rise, and the desert would always hold secrets. But for now, they were together, human and alien, cowboy and queen, survivor and ruler. And in that unity, there was hope. Lysara turned to him, her voice soft but clear. The night tested you, human. You proved courage, loyalty, and heart. That is the consort's choice. Jace nodded. Then I choose to stay, he said. Where you go, I go. Whatever comes next, we face it together. For the first time, he felt truly part of something larger than himself. The palace, the desert, the alien people, all of it felt connected through that choice, that trust, and that bond. The twin moons rose again, casting silver light across the dunes. The battle was over, but the story was not. There would be new challenges, new threats, and new adventures. Yet Jace Holiday, once a lone cowboy wandering the desert, had found a purpose, a companion, and a world worth fighting for. And somewhere deep within the palace, Lysara whispered to him, her voice carrying promise and caution. Together, we are unstoppable. And together they were.